everybody, welcome back to the Semi-Professional Academic Podcast. As always, I'm your host with the most Dr. Peppers in my fridge. And joining me today is the hilarious, the iconic, show-stopping, never the same, always unique, Alli Andrews.
That was such a nice intro.
Thank you. Alli, thank you so much for joining us for season 2 of the podcast.
Yes, thanks for having me.
For those of you who don't know, Alli is a recent graduate. It's almost 2 months to the day, correct, since you graduated?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it is.
Yeah. How are you? How's that like post-grad feeling?
Post-grad is really weird, especially since all of my friends are in very different places.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am still living at home with my parents, which is not ideal, but like my best friend Chloe, shout out Chloe, just moved to Hawaii. So like it's been very interesting acclimating to post-grad life, but I'm really excited for getting my job started.
Love that. Love that so much. And it's so true. And like what people don't talk about is your 20s is so weird. And I was actually chatting
Yeah.
about this on the last episode. In undergrad, everybody's like on very similar timelines.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you walk across that stage, everything just goes crazy. Like there's people that I graduated with, which a frame of reference, everybody, I graduated 2 years ago. So like a little ways out, but like not horribly
Yeah.
long. And there's people with like houses, families,
Mm-hmm.
weddings, and I'm just grateful if I make it through the day without crying.
And that's all we can hope for.
Literally.
It's just, yeah, it's bizarre. I feel like the second we all graduated, like we all just scattered. And that's the only similarity that we have is that we are all in very different places.
Very, very much so. And like very different timelines. But
Yes.
I love seeing everybody's go because everyone's doing great stuff. It's just so
Yeah,
weird to me because their path would not make sense for me.
exactly. Like I know people going to like more schooling, but I wouldn't even know like what to go to school for. I mean, I'm going to be in school for the rest of my life as a teacher on the other side of the desk, but like it's just so interesting to see the paths everyone chooses.
Yeah. Now for the rest of the introduction, Alli, for people who may not be familiar with you, would you mind just introducing yourselves like a little bit, giving a little background information to all of our listeners?
Yeah, so my name is Alli Andrews. I use she, her pronouns. I just graduated from Hanover College, and I majored in English and secondary education. And I am just about to start my career as a seventh and eighth grade language arts teacher, which is crazy. Um, I don't know how much more do people usually spill. I don't know.
That's great. I mean,
Okay, that's me in a nutshell.
I rem I don't know if you remember this, but we met. This is very fun. Like Alli and I had the same job on campus. We were both student
Yes,
ambassadors, and then Alli actually took over for me as a social media intern after I left.
yes.
But that's getting ahead of ourselves. But we first met. I just realized this. We met in D's class.
Oh my gosh, I was trying to think about how we met.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So as Alli said, she majored in education and English, and I majored in biology, but I had a minor in English, which I told everyone that I minored in Dr. Eden and D. Gertz because those are the only two
Yeah.
English people I had. But no, it was the one class I had with D. Gertz who she's not listening to this. She's busy, but I absolutely adore her, love her.
But like if she is, I hope she knows I love her. And even if she's not listening, I hope she knows I love her.
Yeah, I'm putting that energy out. I'm never letting my
Yeah.
love for D go unnoticed. Like very much so. This could be on her deathbed, and she will hear it and be like, "I love
She
her."
better.
Yeah, but that was a time because that was literally like the semester COVID hit.
We got sent home during that class.
Yeah, and I didn't know like how to feel about it because it was kind of not really like upper level English class. It was only like a 200 level, but by that
Yeah.
point, like you had all the English majors there, and it was so insulting to me because I came in there as a junior, and three people in that class of 10 told me I was in the wrong room.
No.
Yeah, and I was just like, no,
First of all, we go to a liberal arts school. Like, I just think that's so bold to assume.
I know. It's not like I went to a school with like 60,000 people.
Yeah.
And
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. So, but I got to know Allie through there, and like you were always like very welcoming, but you never know like how you're gonna like vibe with someone like
Yeah.
first day. But I remember we were talking about something like some kind of symbolism in a poem. I forget what it was. And then you said something. I remember it was smart. I don't remember what you said, but I remember it was smart. And I was like, oh, that's smart.
Bold.
And then someone disagreed. And then Allie said, well, that's your opinion. and
That's
I
so
thought,
real.
and I was like, I vibe with this. I vibe
I
with
thought we
this.
were talking about Wuthering Heights because I hated that book and half the class was split. Like, I think we had some Heathcliff stands and some not, and I was not.
I'm being so real.
Be real.
I'm being so real. I have not met a person who's been in a healthy relationship like Wuthering Heights. If you like Wuthering Heights, you have unhealthy relationships. No tea, no shade. Just
Correlation is not causation, but like we have to analyze that data.
we have the p-value is below 0.05. It
Like
is
we're not talking about that enough.
not. I mean, like you were there. Like, am I wrong?
And you're not wrong.
I'm not. I'm being so for real too. I did not read that book. I spark noted that shit every single
It
time.
was that was honestly the way to do it.
Yeah. Is that what you did? Is that what you did, or did you actually read? Were you a good student, or
I read it, but it made no sense to me, so I sparked it.
okay? See, and like here's a very unpopular opinion. And before anyone jumps at me, I'm literally an English minor, so like only English majors can like correct me on that. A lot of times when you're discussing themes and poetry and symbolism of the book, most of the time you're not going to get it off the first glance.
No.
You're just not. And I think a lot when you're discussing that, you just need to be able to grasp the concept of it and go back later and see how they did that. So I don't obviously like try to read the book, but like there was a global pandemic and people were dying. I feel like I had bigger issues on my plate,
It's so real.
literally. And I was an essential worker. I was working the whole pandemic.
And and you do too for a check.
I yeah. And like so explain this to me because I'm not entirely sure, Allie. Like did you major in both education and English? Okay. Now,
Yes.
people told me, and granted, nobody come at me. This is just me not knowing. So some people told me you can major in something and then do like something else to where you could still be a teacher at like Hanover, but like not major
Yes.
in education. Is that true?
That is true. You can just get your certification without majoring. So it's like a few less classes, but like you still get like the essentials.
Yeah.
So like some people wanted to pursue licensure in like two areas, so they had like two majors in those content areas, and then they were still in the program, but they just didn't get the major.
Gotcha. And what was like the draw for you to be like, yeah, I'm gonna double major from like in this when you had that kind of like certification route possible?
I knew that I wanted to be involved in education for my career. I don't think classroom teaching is going to be my forever, but I knew that I always wanted to be involved in that world. So I wanted to have the ability to pick more classes and have more experiences. And so that's why I opted for the major rather than just the certification so that I could have a little bit more experience.
That's so cool. So like do you see yourself potentially like taking on like later in your career maybe like more of an admin role in education?
Yes, I could see myself going into administration or public policy or union work. I'm not sure what yet, but I have a lot of ideas that I think are too big for the classroom and a lot of passion that's too big for the classroom. But I also love my students, and so
Mhm.
I I know that I have to start there. So
Period. We love that.
yeah,
Yeah. So kind of like diving in deeper, did you always know that you wanted to be a teacher or like when did or like go into education, but like or like when did that kind of like realization come?
I feel like I have a really interesting relationship with education because I come from a family with a few teachers. Both of my aunts were teachers. My grandma worked in a school, and so I've always been around education. But I also fell in love with English first, and for a while thought I wanted to be like a journalist or an editor or copywriter or something. But I realized that mostly in high school, through the amazing teachers I had in high school, that I wanted other people to see the skills that you could use English for. And so that's when I really started to think about teaching more, and just reflecting on how amazing my family was and their impact that they've had through teaching. So it's always been like in me. I just didn't realize it until like my senior year of high school because I was applying for colleges like for English exclusively
Yeah.
and like last minute decided to do both. So
So
it was a
real.
game time decision.
So real. Honestly, same but not the same. Like for me, like
Mhm.
growing up, I thought I wanted to be a talk show host
And you
and a
still
chef.
could be, and you should be.
No, I wanted to be both a chef and a talk show host. Like
Okay.
I would actually cook and like bring people on like to try my food, and then I would sit down and be like, "So, what why are you this way? What?"
We have like the same. I would like write like fake little articles, like how to articles, and like I would make my aunt, who was a teacher, like write really bad papers so I could edit them. Like, or when I was in like first grade, second grade, and she would have me grade her sixth graders' papers.
I love that. I love that so much. That's so funny. I I remember one time, and this is gonna sound so awful, but we had a sub during when I was in third grade. So I was 8 at this point, which I feel bad about, but I was 8. What else was I supposed to do?
Exactly.
We had this one sub. I'm not gonna say her name, but she was older, like she was in her 80s.
Hmm.
And we were going over like the alphabet, which is weird to be going over the alphabet in third grade, I thought, but
And that's a correct thought.
um, but no one was saying anything, so I was just like, okay. And then she stumbles up the alphabet. Like instead of QRST, it goes QSUV. Like completely just forgets the T. And I even said, I remember I was because like I grabbed my juice box. I was like, "Where's tea? Like
Embarrassing.
where's the tea?" She goes, "Oh, I guess I messed up the alphabet." And I said, "Yeah."
You did. Imagine being 80 years old and having to say, I messed up the alphabet to
But was
an
a
8 year old.
oh, it wasn't over yet. I wasn't done. I wasn't done. I wasn't letting that go. And
There's more.
there's more. And she goes, "I should really know this." And then instinctively I go, "Yeah, you should."
And she should. And you were spilling your truth.
And everyone looked at me like I was the problem. I was just like, this lady who's 10 times older than me messed up the alphabet.
No, seriously.
And I'm the bad guy. No.
It's always the subs.
It's all I
Not to slander subs. There are great subs out there,
yeah, hey,
but then there are some really not great ones.
I have my sub license.
Me too.
Yeah, duh. But no, and I felt so bad because this woman, like teachers themselves don't get paid enough, and subs also don't get paid enough.
Oh, yeah.
So like they're probably thinking like this fucking asshole of
Oh,
a
absolutely.
is not letting me
Oh, damn
slide
it.
on forgetting on messing up the alphabet.
She probably was like, oh, these like graders won't notice either. And then
Yeah.
you said something and she was like, God damn
And later on, I went up to her and he's like, "So what is going on that made you mess up the alphabet?" Like fully on, like it's and she goes, "I just didn't get enough sleep last night." I go, "Why?" And like fully like just being a problem. Like I realize this now, but like it was all like in
it. That's
good
okay.
fun. And it happened to be like, "Well, my husband, da 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 da." And I said, and I even said, because my friends had told me multiple times, it says, I was like, "You let a man say that to you?" At 8 years old, I was not having it.
You knew.
I was
You,
not
you
having it.
knew.
And so that's when I
So
thought I
no
was going to be
more.
a talk show host.
And as you should.
No, I love that your aunt gave you gave you her papers like to grade. That's so
It was
fun.
like
So
like
cute.
spelling and stuff. She'd be like, all right, grade these for me. Little did I know she was like having work taken off her plate, but I was like,
You were living.
fun. It's like the simulation. I'm like, fun, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Speaking of work being passed on to you, after I left and I
Hmm.
kind of like recommended you for the social media intern, which those of you who don't know, we worked in the Office of Admissions. Love
True.
that. Love that. Barb, Brett, Tammy, if you're listening, love you guys, which I know you aren't.
Squad, love you guys.
Love you guys so much. But for those of you who don't know, like we had to like make content, uh,
Hmm.
including stories, posts, Instagrams of essentially like anything on campus, like using
Hmm.
our fellow ambassador. Sometimes we ourselves just making it up. And like, how did you? Because I was a senior when I did it, and you did it as a junior. So how did you feel
Yeah.
like taking that over when it's really not really been done as a junior? So I think you were the youngest to do it.
I was okay, first of all, I had no idea I was even like up for the job. Like
Yeah.
nobody ever mentioned it to me. I didn't even know like how people were selected for it. And then Barb sent out the email about like leads and interns for the year. And I was reading and I was like, oh yeah, these people are the leads. And then it was like social media intern, Alli Andrews. And I said, she's what? I had no
No,
clue. She didn't talk to me before. Like
no lies, because I talked to you about it.
when?
What I literally, we were in the basement and we were working on pamphlets. And I said, hey, I have like this social media thing, da 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 da. And you go, oh, I love it. It seems so fun. And I said, oh, do you think like you'd be interested in doing it? And go, yeah. And I said,
Yeah.
okay. And I was like, well, I'm looking for a replacement. Like, would you mind if like I throw your name out? And you're like, yeah, sure. So I did.
That was the last I heard of anything though. So like
That's all I needed. Like,
how was I to know? I had no clue that like things were happening involving me. So I was shocked when my name was on it.
let's be real. I ran that shit.
And it's true, you did.
No,
And you did.
mhm,
But I was really excited. I really liked the job. I would love to see it continue to develop more
mhm.
as it as social media changes. And yeah, I feel like I have like a weird amount of like guilt that I didn't do enough, but it was just hard because it was still like such like not a new position, but like we had just started with Instagram Reels and such. So
Yeah. And that's so real because I really had to like fight to use Instagram Reels because they didn't want us on
mhm.
TikTok, which I think was
Yeah,
fake, but that wasn't like our call to make.
right.
Um, there's so much tea I could spill about that job.
I know.
And
That's for another time.
we didn't sign an NDA. We've been kept quiet for
True.
nothing. But
I'm off contract now.
I struggled a lot with it simply because I was just going based off like other colleges and trying to like vamp it up to our.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of my videos were ever like controversial, but some people had a problem with them. They said I won't say who, but someone accused me of stealing their content when I used I'll just say what it was. It was uh sorority rush, like
Oh
bit
my gosh, I remember this.
and all these pictures of like all these beautiful people running home. It was a very joyful time. I personally reached out to each individual sorority and I said, hey, I noticed like some pictures. I was thinking about doing this for the Instagram Reels.
Hmm.
Do you mind if I get some pictures and make a reel of it of you guys, of course? Like, do you like, would that be all right? They're like, oh yeah, sure. And like everyone in the sorority was so nice. But another person on campus made a similar reel and used some of the same pictures, but I got the pictures from the sorority. So like,
Yeah.
and they brought it up with Brett and said, where did Jacob get the pictures? Because we noticed that we
Mhm.
have similar pictures in our reel. And then Brett takes they tell me, oh yeah, he reached out to sororities, the sorority gave them. And they go, interesting. And I'm like, what are you implying?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So did you have any
Interesting.
like that?
I don't, I'm trying to think, but I don't think that I did, thankfully. But it was just really hard. It's so hard to make content for a college when you're representing so many people and so many things because I feel like you probably encountered this too. A lot of ideas that I had that would like fit the current trends and sounds were not always accepted, even though I was like, this is like I've seen other schools do something like this. I have the receipts. I've done my research. So I ran into more of that.
I no tea, no shade, but I think we got held back a lot being a small liberal arts school.
Yes. It's very cookie cutter expectations of what a small liberal arts school is supposed to be.
Yeah, because I wanted us to be shady. I wanted us to like,
Hmm.
not really shady, but like be a little bit more cheeky online.
Yeah.
Because that's
I
like,
wanted us to have a personality, you
yeah.
know?
And you know how hard that was?
Yeah.
And like, especially because like I felt like I couldn't mess up because I was basically said like, yeah, this is a trial run. You can like, if it works, we'll keep doing it. But if not, we'll
Hmm.
not. Because this was like my idea to get off on the ground. I was just like, okay. And then I went and produced the two most viewed videos Hanover ever had at the time. At the time, on minimum wage, by the way.
Right. And like also like working after hours, like off the clock.
Off the clock work while giving tours.
Hmm.
Um, but
It's all in a day's work.
yeah. So this is a fun question that I really have wanted to ask.
Okay.
But Allie, you were a very busy person in undergrad.
Yes.
You had two majors, you had jobs, you're
Hmm.
part of clubs and organizations, and one of your activities involved Greek life. Do you feel like being in Greek life prepared you for the craziness of the classroom?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. Um, yeah, especially being in a house full of people who identify as women, I think really lended well to being in a classroom of teenage girls. Yeah, sometimes there are some things you just don't outgrow, apparently. So that way, yeah.
I love
But
that.
also from like a professional standpoint, I did learn a lot about how to herd cats and running things. I was director of recruitment for our sorority for 2 years, which is a different story that I had to do it for 2 years. But I think that gave me a lot of preparation for the classroom because I was basically making lesson plans for my sorority because otherwise we would get nothing done. So
Yeah. I
that was
have to
some good
say,
practice.
yeah. I always wanted to know because don't get me wrong, I love like my friends that I've met through Greek life. Like they're some of my best friends to this day. We talk all the time. However, some of those bitches are crazy, like absolutely crazy. Like it's like no tea, no shade. That's just facts. And
And that's okay.
and that's okay. We love honestly, we love them. The craziness is what makes them them. And people say that about me, and I'm just like, you know what? Valid, fair,
Like,
completely.
and true. Like, that's how I feel about myself. I'm like, you're
And,
probably right.
yeah, probably right. But I will say though, because during my master's, I had to teach labs.
Oh, God.
So
With undergrad students?
with freshman undergrad students.
Yikes.
Yeah, it was weird. I had some people that were older than me, uh,
Oh,
and so like that was weird because they would want to call me Mr. Watson. I was like, please don't, please,
no,
please,
thank you.
no, thank you. You look like you have a pension. Please don't.
Yep.
So I had to deal with like a lot of like, because you remember, do you remember what you were like when you were a freshman in college?
Yeah.
Yeah, same. I was a mess.
I
Um,
was a hot mess express.
yeah, same girl, same. So I'm I'm partly grateful for that. And like I had like a bunch of different types of personalities, which being in Greek life, you have to navigate a bunch of different types of
Yes.
personality. And it was great because like having that, I kind of already had an experience of like how to regularly interact with these students. And by the end of it, I was roasting all of them, but like they
Mhm.
took it very well. Like I like which ones you can roast and like they know like it's
Yes.
in good fun and not file a complaint. I did have
That's how you know you've made it.
yeah, I did have one person say that I give off homophobic vibes, and they're correct.
Interesting.
And like gay rights, but case by case basis.
We will have to review the case file.
Like I definitely do, but some of these, um, no, I'm kidding. Except I'm not. But Yeah, so that was probably the funniest thing. And then I had to have a whole sit down with like my because they put it on like my evaluation,
Hmm.
but they gave me a 5 out of 5. So like
Oh,
did not expect
it
that.
couldn't have been that big of a deal, I guess.
Could not have been that big of a deal. So I had to sit down with Ruth, love Ruth very much. And she goes, I noticed you got a comment on there. And I was like, yeah. And she goes, what made you think that? And she asked me if like I was homophobic. I was like, Ruth, no.
Ruth, simply put, no.
And no, it didn't click for her at first. She goes, oh,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
it's all coming together.
Hmm. Sweetest lady though. Like,
Shout out Ruth.
yeah. Ruth is a G man because I was complaining about this one student who just like for the life like was really rude for no reason.
Mm,
Because like our lab is scheduled from 8 to 10. So anyone who knows me already, if I have to be anywhere at 8, that's a federal
yeah.
crime.
Yes.
And she would show up and then every day be like, what time are we going to get done? And I said, oh, no later than 10, like the scheduled time.
Mhm.
And they go, and she goes, but like when? Because like I need to leave. And I said, oh, like why? She goes, I really want to meet with my advisor and they can only meet with me at 9. And
Okay.
it would like become like a regular thing. And I told her, like, well, you do realize you picked this lab time. Like you could have picked any other.
Correct.
She goes, yeah, I don't see how that's my problem. So I don't,
What?
yeah. So
Okay, Queen.
she failed the class anyway. Um,
And
but
okay, Queen.
that kind of like leads me to something else. Like, because for those of you who don't know, because I didn't know this, when you do the education major, you have to get kind of like experience like teaching before you actually teach, right? Like through student
Yes.
teaching, correct?
Yeah, we do student teaching and field work.
Mhm.
You have to get like 40 hours a semester before you student teach
Mhm.
in the classroom.
And what was like, how did there's so many questions I want to ask with this. But did you ever have any like crazy experiences while you're doing field work or student teaching?
Yes, a period. I so for the secondary major, which means that you get your license to be a certified to teach 5 through 12,
Hmm.
grades 5 through 12. So I had experiences one semester with high school, one with middle school, and then another one with high school my junior year. So I was in high school the full year. And I had a really interesting mentor teacher for that whole year who wouldn't tell me what we were doing until I got there and then would tell me I had the whole 90 minutes with the kids to be teaching. One time, the fire alarm was going off during his prep, and we just stayed in the classroom because he said that his prep time was too valuable and that he would rather just burn instead of leave the classroom and waste his prep time. And I was like, honestly, like, fair, but like, like maybe we should exit the building at the same time.
I love that so much.
like,
Like, let's be real here.
seriously.
There are some times where you'd be like, unless I'm actively burning, I'm not trying to run.
Yeah, like he recognizes that his time is valuable, and I have to respect that. Like,
You know what? Iconic behavior. Like, really.
yeah. And then one time we were talking about House Bill 1134 that was trying to be passed, which, in case you don't know, in Indiana, was a bill that was trying to, among other things, not allow teachers to say that Nazis were bad. You could not like that. Like, I just can't. It was so many bad things all in one bill. Thankfully, it did not pass. You also like couldn't ask a student about their mental health without getting permission from their parents first. Like it was a lot of really nasty things that I'm glad didn't pass. But we were talking about that and how ridiculous it was. And then at one point he goes, I don't know where you stand politically, but I know you're part of the LGBTQ community, so I have a pretty good idea. And I couldn't be like, no, I'm not, because then I sound like homophobic. But I was like, is this my gay awakening? Like I just don't even know like how he got to that conclusion.
What was
I
he?
truly
What was he part of the queer community?
No, no.
Oh, what?
I like truly still to this day do not know how he gathered enough evidence to conclusively decide that I was part of the LGBTQ community, which like love. But
Yeah, there's
I
worse than
was just yeah, it was just like the most baffling conversation I've ever had with a like other professional.
I. Yeah, this is a no way meant to be like offensive. This is just like a truth. Straight people will say the most out of pocket things to people who are queer, who they think are queer.
Yes.
I in grad school, I had a cohort member of mine ask me where the LGBTQ community lived. They thought it was like an actual community.
No.
And I was like, "Oh, honey." And like she wasn't mean or like rude by any means, but like
No. There's no like cohort living together.
and she goes, "I'd love to come visit sometime." And I'm just like I was like so like I had to like tell this woman who is older than me like no, no.
I wouldn't even know how to navigate that conversation.
You don't. I feel like being queer and being a teacher is very similar in the vibes that you are not getting paid enough, you're tired, you're overworked,
Hmm.
and you constantly have to answer questions that are not part of your job and deal with people trying to tell you what rights you do or do not
Yes. Yes. I can't wait. I feel like I need like a soundboard so I can be like ding.
I was looking into getting a soundboard for this, but it wouldn't be like the one from iCarly, and I said no.
No. And we don't need that.
No, no.
You'd have random dancing.
Do you even know how iconic that would be?
You also know how awkward that would be for people listening. Like you can't see anyone dancing. It's just like the sound effect goes
No, no, I play that sound effect, and then I'm just like, really, Janet, you breaking out that move, really? Like
exactly. It could be a move.
it could. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Ali, there is something else I want to ask you, but before we go to that, let's take a little break.
Okay.
And we are back.
Period.
So, Ali, just real talk here. What was more
Okay.
beneficial? What was more beneficial to you? Like, not necessarily like in experience, but things that you learned about the classroom. Was it field work or was it more student teaching?
I think okay. I learned so much student teaching. I had the best mentor teacher, so I got a lot of questions answered that I did not during my field work. And it's also just helpful because you're like actually running the classroom and you're not seen as just like this random guest that came in, which helped a lot. Like, I was like the person that my students were going to for questions and the 1 million can I go to the bathrooms today. But I also learned a lot from the camp I worked at, which was for kids 8 through 12 that have behavioral issues. And so it's kind of like teaching them how to operate behaviorally in a classroom. And they had behavioral goals. It was a hot mess express. Like these kids really struggled with being challenged behaviorally. So I have lots of fun stories about there. But that was like the most helpful experience to learn how to deal with behaviors.
Nice. And would you say that's something that you didn't necessarily expect with student teaching, or like was there anything during student teaching that maybe caught you off guard that you like weren't expecting to know or
Hmm.
have to deal with?
That's such a good question. Student teaching was just, well, okay. I was the first person in my cohort, so of the people in my class that were student teaching, I was the first one to fully take over the classroom. So like by week, like the second full week, I was the lead teacher,
Alan
which
walked so all y'all could stumble. Okay.
which was crazy. My advisor was like, "You're already taking over," and I said, "Yeah." So I feel like I really got the experience of just like diving in like a chicken with your head cut off. And I thought, it'll get better. It never does. And
Never
that
done.
really threw me off because I was like, once you get in it, like it'll be fine. No, because you can make a lesson plan for the next week, but you probably won't use it because you will not be at the place you thought you were. So I think that was the most surprising thing for me was that you just, especially for the planner that I am, you can plan all you want, but you have to plan to change your plans.
So what I'm hearing is it was easy. No, no, I'm kidding.
So it was super easy.
Like anyone could do it. Like
Anyone
it,
could just sign up today.
yeah. I mean, look at Florida. They're basically saying that.
No, literally.
And
Come on down.
and this is like off topic and like a little bit political, but like, I say what I want on it's my show. Um,
Mhm.
I've noticed that Indiana, for some godforsaken reason, the politicians who have no idea what it's like going on in the classroom or what teachers go through, want to follow Florida's lead on like policies.
Mhm.
And it would make sense why they would do that. Not in a sense that like the policies make sense, but like I could see why they want to imitate that if we were like neighbors or something and we had people crossing
Right.
states to work and they just want to make it unilateral for everyone. But we are states and states away.
We are
Like,
leaps and bounds.
yeah, why are we trying to follow a state's policy that's most known for Florida man?
Exactly.
Like, can you explain? You are much more well educated on that topic than I am with like,
About like policy.
yeah.
Yeah, it seems like Florida will be like, I feel like their legislators Google, they're like political buzzword this week. And then they see like transgender and they're like, okay, so we need to ban that. And it feels like they make these really radical legislative policies, a lot of which pertain to public schools. And then other states are like, oh my gosh, I hadn't thought about that. What if we do that? Which make like a lot of it just doesn't make sense. That's just what I see a lot of. That's probably it's putting it way too simply, but and it's a lot of people that have never been in a classroom that think they know what's going on in a classroom. Where like in reality, I'm dealing with telling kids every other minute that they can't go to the bathroom right now because I'm in the middle of teaching. Even if I wanted to, I have no time to be teaching about the things that they think we're talking about. Like
Yeah,
I'm just trying to get these kids to capitalize the first letter of their sentence.
literally. Like teach at the college, so like they sometimes will be like they're just liberalizing students. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't get my students to actually turn in their lab manual on time. Like, what makes you
No,
think
like
that I'm getting them to conform to socialism? Like, what?
exactly. Yeah, like what is going on? Like they won't even put their name on a paper.
Yeah,
They have bigger fish to fry.
yeah. My goal was helping them succeed in the classroom. I literally could not care like about anything else. I don't know
Yeah.
why they're thinking that we do. We want our students to succeed and do well and feel
Mm-hmm.
safe. That's all we want. I don't know what they think we're teaching them.
And exactly, like I, I just simply can't. I don't understand, but it's okay.
This is going to be like a really weird question,
Okay, I'm ready.
but as you know, we were all in college once and we do college things. So do you ever find it weird that like the people that on Saturday nights when you're doing college things like are now teaching like kindergartners and stuff, things like that?
Yes, and I
Like
know that you can do both. Like I completely understand that you can both have a good time and be a good teacher. It's just really interesting to see teachers doing non-traditional teacher things. So it's so interesting.
I'm totally here for it. And like
Yeah, love.
I want to preface I am by no means judging. Fully here for it. It's just weird because now I think about like all the teachers that I
Yeah,
had, like they did the things we did. And I'm just
yeah,
like, it's like breaking my mind. It breaks my mind a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah. As long as you're not like jeopardizing the your quality of teaching and your kids like do whatever you want on non-school time. Like,
Literally. Like I remember I won't name her in case they work, but I was very close friends with this person who's now a teacher to like young children and like she's an amazing teacher.
mhm.
Like and I've never doubted that. But it's weird for me to think and be like Girl, you shook your ass to Gasolina for a Wendy's chicken nugget, and like now you are teaching them how to write. Like this is
Yeah,
doing like
it's the duality of man.
yeah, and it shouldn't be because like they got lives, but like I didn't. It breaks my mind a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I guess I'm not woke. I'm sorry. You win.
No, because I still feel the same way. Like, I think that we just have such an idea of like what teachers are supposed to be that it's just so hard to imagine teachers outside of the school setting and having lives. Like, even I, like, when I hear the teachers that I know being like, I'm gonna go do X, Y, and Z this weekend, or I'm gonna go do X, Y, and Z on Wednesday. I'm like, you're gonna what? Like you're going to? Like, am I, are you sure?
Like, don't you have a bookshelf to dust or something?
Yeah, I'm like, come on, like let's make a new rubric.
Yeah, a garden to maintain.
Yeah. So
Like
I'm like, go drink your tea and read your book.
literally, I don't know why that's like the first thing I go to. Like
Yeah,
teachers, they just want tea and to read afterwards.
it reminds me of the memes that are like, okay, grandma. Like, yeah, I'm sure that happened, grandma.
Oh, my favorite meme lately is like people saying like me in the nursing home in 2084. I want to grow
Yes.
dinner.
Can you play Gasolina?
Yeah.
I can't fall asleep until I hear Gasolina. That'll be me.
Yeah. I every every bad bitch has a deep connection to Gasolina. I don't make the rules.
It's true. Like, there is a correlation there.
No, it's causation. It is causation.
Let's get it right.
Yeah. As a scientist, I'm ruling this is no longer correlation. This is direct causation.
It is causation.
It is causation. I've never met someone who wasn't a bad bitch that did not have an emotional tie to Gasolina. I'm sorry. I'm
It's
I'm
just fact.
I'm sorry. It's a genre, and not everyone can fit in the genre.
It's true. I feel like the same. I feel like there's a different connection, but there is one between um no hands.
Yes, yes. What if you have a connection to both? Like, do you need a
Oh
connection
my,
to both or just one?
I think you can have a connection to both, but I don't know where that puts you. I think we still have to do more research on those people.
Everybody send in your questions. Find us on Twitter and Instagram and DM us
Please,
thoughts so like we can know.
please.
And then we'll run the poll. We'll talk about it in the follow-up
Yes.
episode.
Yes.
And we'll discuss all your childhood trauma. I
That
know.
sounds like a great time to be.
I
I'm there.
I love talking about trauma. That's just so wild. That's a wild thing to say.
Yep,
But like
I do too.
but like it's the spice of life.
It is. It's what
Like
makes us all a little zesty.
like fuck laughter. Everybody can laugh. Not everybody can laugh about everything.
It's true. It
Yeah.
takes a special person.
Allie, there is like something that like I wanted to ask you. Like knowing everything that you do now and like I know you technically already started, but you haven't like have you started teaching like your students yet at your new school?
1 week until students come.
Okay. I just want to make sure I because we get our facts correctly on this show.
Yes,
Unless it's the facts that I make up, then everyone else is wrong and I'm correct.
exactly.
But getting ready to start like having a classroom completely on your own, like not student teaching, not doing field
Hmm.
work. Is there any advice you would give to your freshman self, like seeing like how far you've come and like maybe
Oh
think
my gosh.
like you would want to better prepare her for?
First of all, I feel like a literal different human from freshman Allie. Like, she was so meek and mild and had no clue what she was going to do the next 4 years of college. So I would tell her to buckle up and also to trust. I would tell freshman Allie to trust herself a little bit more, and also to ask more questions. I think I was really afraid of looking like I didn't know everything at first, which like that's why you go to college. So I don't know why I thought that I couldn't know everything, but I was like, you have to be the smartest person in the room. Wrong. And I am still working on that and learning that. And so going into my first field teaching job, I've been making sure that I'm asking all of the questions that I have so that I don't dig myself into a deeper hole. So I realized. Like there were some questions I had, and then I got halfway through my student teaching and was like, I still don't know the answer to this, and I'm just operating on faith, trust, pixie dust. When like I literally could have just been like, hey, how does this work? So I feel like that's the biggest thing I'm learning right now.
That's so cool. Like, because I feel like we're very similar. Like, I know for me, I put a lot of pressure on myself to be like, oh, I have to know everything already. I have to know
Yeah,
exactly what they're talking about,
I'm
which is,
like, that's why they hired me is because they think I know everything.
yeah,
Wrong.
no. Sometimes, and not, this isn't to you, but like to anyone, sometimes they just need a body and they'll train you on the job so they can do it.
True.
Like, and of course, Allie's like very talented and like worked and like I
Thank
have no
you.
concern. So like, but like, don't feel like you to anybody, don't feel like you ever have to know everything because if you have to go into a job
Mhm.
knowing everything, that company's going down or that school, that something's going down.
That's so true. Like that ship is already on fire. Like,
Yeah.
do not enter.
And just as someone who's like seen you grow from like your sophomore to senior year, just like the confidence that like you have in yourself is like very, it exudes like a little bit, like not in a cocky way, but just like
Mhm.
you're very like a much more realized version of yourself. And I love
Thank
that.
you. I appreciate that. I would like to think so. I don't. I I definitely did a lot of things that gave me a lot of experiences that I had no clue were even possible 4 years ago. So it's just really cool to see how those have transformed me.
I feel like there's a Taylor Swift lyric that I should quote, but like I'm not trying to
There's
put
always a Taylor Swift lyric that you can quote.
there's a Taylor
When in
Swift
doubt.
lyric to everything. So, oh, I'm gonna ask. So, what era are we in? Like, I know Speak Now TV just dropped, but like personally in
Mhm.
our own lives, what era are we in?
Chloe and I say this all the time. Like, what era are you in? I don't know what era I'm in right now. Let me think. What era are you in?
I'm in my 1989 era.
I'm not a huge Swiftie, so I need to. Okay, let me think. I feel like I'm in like my Midnight's era.
I could see that very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like very mysterious in a way, but like more raw and like less
Hmm.
played up and just like how it is because we don't have
Yeah. Trying to be a little more unfiltered. Like,
as you should, period.
you know, if they don't like me, they don't like me,
And whose problem is
and
that?
that's their loss.
Yeah, not our fault, not our problem.
Exactly.
AYBAU. All you bitches are ugly.
Don't you forget it. I'm gonna get that tattooed up my forearm.
Yeah, yeah, I have FIWB, that one, and a lot of other sayings that like I'm just trying not to overload this thing because sometimes my madness is perfect and sometimes it's just madness.
I have my own vernacular, so I do understand. Like, I every week is a new bit.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to like get all the craziness out because I have a date in like half an hour,
Oh my
and
gosh, tea.
oh, he's also a teacher. This is a little bit of tea. He can wait a little bit. He went to Disney World, and I'm Allie. I need to get your reaction for the pod. It's filling my feet.
Okay,
I love how I invite guests over and I talk most of the time. Like it's so nice.
I'm
So
living for this.
and he was in Disney World one time. It's like, hey, how's Disney? Like, how's it going? Like, just very politely. And he goes, great. And he sends me a picture of his dinner. Keep in mind, this is over text because he doesn't have Snapchat, which is like a little bit of a yellow flag because he's in his 20s. Um,
Okay.
and he is 28, so he's older than me, which like we love that. I'm not trying to raise a child.
No.
But then I go, oh, that looks great. And then he sends me 4 unsolicited videos of him eating the food with on. And one of them was like a cheese pull, which
No, no.
yeah. So I need to ask everyone, like,
Like, did he like have any commentary? Like, it was just him eating.
no commentary. It was just mouth sounds and like head nodding. I need to know, like, am I a bitch? Is this crazy? Or like it gave me like a little bit of an ick. I'm not gonna lie.
That's weird. I've never heard of anyone doing that. That is, he said, I'm an influencer and I do mukbangs.
But no mukbang. Sorry, like they talk and he didn't talk.
Yeah, that's so weird. I don't like
Over
that.
text, over text. I want everyone
Oh
to know
my god,
this is over text. This is not even over
I was thinking
Snapchat.
like Snapchat, like it rolls over, like
No, this is
oh,
text. That means he would have had to go to his camera,
you had to go to the camera app.
go to the video,
No.
take 4 separate videos, and then send them to me.
That gives me yellow flag. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong about it. It's just weird.
And
Like that's not morally wrong or right. You know what I mean? But like,
yeah,
would I
yeah.
prefer them not to do that? Absolutely.
And like, don't get me wrong, I get it that like I'm a loud eater. Like it just has like I literally like the sound just escapes.
And that's yeah.
But it was the unasked 4 separate videos.
I want to know what made him think like Jacob would love this. Like I have to send this
What
to Jacob.
what happened to hello, good morning, my name is
Not a thank you. Not a what is it? Not a how are you?
not a here's a Venmo for $50, like nothing.
Nothing. Not even like a let's FaceTime and like eat our dinner together.
Yeah, see if it was something like that, totally would have get it. But and
Yeah, I'm anxious to hear how this day goes.
yeah, he just texted me. Text me when you're finished with your meeting. And I was like, well, first of all, I told him this meeting was going to 6 because I'm spending valuable time with my friend Alli.
This is true.
So teachers get the fuck to no, no,
So basically, oh my God. Yeah, I
Eddie,
need like a
he
follow up
teaches
found it.
drama. He teaches drama.
Ooh. I feel like drama teachers are either like the absolute best people or the absolute worst people.
I know, and all the yellow flags, like the yellow flags are going to orange territory, I fear.
They are nearing orange territory.
And he wears a hat in all of his pictures.
What kind of hat?
Like just a hat. So
Okay,
you know what that means, ladies? He's bald.
we have to acknowledge that. The
But
silence spoke volumes.
like there's just there's just so many like I mean, don't get me wrong, it's like you can be hot and bald, but like
Yeah,
I anyways, Alli, I just wanted to thank you for coming onto the podcast and talking about your story with us. It was so much fun catching up with you. And I just want to wish you the absolute best of luck as you start this
thank you.
school year. You're going to kill it as always. I hope you become their favorite teacher immediately, that they come to with problems, but you can also roast them to their face and be like, really?
I can't wait for that. I'm really excited for the roasting.
As always, everybody, I am your host, Jacob Watts, and I hope that your guys' next date is also not bald, but let's be real, sis. He's gonna be bald.
We're balding
Her balding.
with my viewers.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye.